So I think the MCU is dying and it's just getting worse and worse out there. If you guys haven't seen the news, this was the worst second drop ever for an MCU movie. And if you don't know what a second drop is, basically, if you look at the box office results and you look from the first weekend to the second weekend, so here we got the first weekend, right? And then you include President's Day or whatever. Um, Let me move me down a bit. You can see here that it had a nearly 70% drop, and that is terrible. And if you compare it to the other Ant-Man movies, the first Ant-Man only had a 56% drop, basically meaning from the first weekend to the second weekend, and then Ant-Man 2 had a 61.6% drop. And somewhere around, if you get in the 50s, that's really good. That's what you want. 60s is not very good, but getting up to the 70% here, that's terrible. That's really bad. And yeah, I mean, there could be a lot of reasons why, but I think people are just kind of, my personal opinion, I think the reason why it's dying is, a lot of people say things like, oh, it's woke, or MCU is a thing I've seen, basically turning all the characters into basically women counterparts, things like that. I think there's elements of that, but I think the biggest thing is this: it's just bad writing. It's just really, really bad writing, and it's bad direction. It's bad choices. Like, why do they choose to even have certain characters or make TV shows about certain characters or put certain characters into the movies, things like that? I think it's just all really bad choices, and then coupled with really bad writing. And I know a lot of, like, I did my review of it, and I talked about, like, just how dumb and the writing was. It's just like the whole time, here's some spoilers, but basically Janet, Hank Pym's wife or whatever, she refuses to tell anyone about what's going on in the quantum realm. And because she refuses to tell people, Cassie then builds a machine and then it sucks them down in there and then still refuses. If she would have just said, yeah, there's like this guy down there, his name's Kang, and he's trying to get out, and if we let him out, he'll destroy everything, type of thing. If she would have just mentioned that one little bit, then the movie wouldn't exist. So it's just like really bad writing and just a lot of stupid choices and the way the characters are. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, okay, just turn your brain off. But I think that works for some people, but I think a lot of people can't. And then on top of that, like Cassie building this special machine that can take you to the quantum realm. She's been in, I think, all three Ant-Man movies, and never once has she shown any real interest in like being like super smart or a scientist or anything like that. Just out of the blue, she's literally like, oh, by the way, I'm a massive genius. Like, at least with like Tony Stark, who built the first Iron Man suit, it's like he's been working around this tech his entire life. It showcased that in, like, through the first half of the movie. So when he's in the cave, he builds this thing, right, out of the scrap parts that he had, and he builds a jankety Iron Man suit. So you kind of believe him at that point. So yeah, but the Cassie is like, oh, she's an activist, a political activist, okay? And then all of a sudden, she's also super smart just because we wrote it in the script that she's going to be a super genius when she's shown nothing about being like super smart before. Like, if Hank Pym would have made that would have made more sense, because he's a super genius. You built multiple movies showing that he's a super genius, but no, they don't want to have Hank Pym do it. Or even if, Janet did it somehow or something. Like, at least she has been to the quantum realm, so she knows a little something. But no, they made Cassie do it, so it's just like, that's dumb. It's just like a lot of bad writing. I think the other stuff is maybe does play a part in it for some people, but I think overall it's just really, really bad writing. I mean, the shows that have come out, even the movies that are like not bad, but they're not great. Like, in my personal opinion, Shang-Chi, it's good, but it's not like MCU phases 2, 3, and 4 or whatever, the phases with all the good ones, like Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, stuff like that. Doctor Strange 1. I was very disappointed in Doctor Strange 1 or 2. Doctor Strange 1 I loved, but Doctor Strange 2 just, I don't know, just kind of missed the mark. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way. I think they really need to do an overhaul. I know Bob Iger has come back and he is firing a bunch of people and he's canceling a bunch of shows. Like Agatha got canceled, which should have never been a show to begin with. He's canceling a bunch of them, which is good. Got to, because it's all about the brand. You want to make sure that the brand of the MCU can live on. But if you literally kill the brand, kind of like they did with Star Wars, where they came out with Han Solo, a Star Wars movie based on Han Solo, and it lost money. So that's how you ruin a brand, things like that. So I don't know. Hopefully, they can turn the ship around. But the thing is, if they decide to turn the ship around today and they decide to make this new movie, it won't come out for like 3 years. So whatever decisions they make today or even the last year since Bob Iger's come back, you won't see that for the next 2-3 years. So I think we're in for, a lot of people are saying phase 4, okay, it's fine. We're going to move on. We're going to do something better. So phase 5, that's where everything's going to get better. I honestly don't think phase 5 is going to be good. I don't think it's going to be great. We have Guardians, but I feel like that's very separate because it's like James Gunn is, helming that. So I don't know. I think phase 4 and phase 5 are going to be the same. And if it continues this way where people's, like, you'll look at this and you'll go, oh, okay, it made a ton of money, right? Okay, it's up to worldwide 360 something million. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's great, that's amazing. But I mean, it costs like 150 million to make these movies. So you double that because you have to do advertising and things like that. So you're in for like 300 million because production budget, that's just to make the films 150. Then you have advertising, so it's usually double that. So it's 300. Then you have to also understand that the theaters take like 50% of this. So, I mean, they have to. I mean, what was it? James Cameron said that the newest Avatar movie came out, had to make $900 million just to break even. Just to break even. You got advertising, theaters taking their cuts, whatever their percentages are, all that kind of stuff. So this $300 million might look huge, and obviously this can continue to grow. The other one, Ant-Man's, have made about, 500, 600, so enough to like go on, but I mean, obviously the production values go higher, or budgets go higher and higher with every sequel that comes out. So this one's probably higher than the last one, so it has to make even more. I mean, I'm sure it'll probably like barely be profitable, but is that like, if you're barely profitable off an MCU movie, is that a good thing? I don't think so. I think that's a bad thing. Like, you should be making a ton of money, like a ton. It's an MCU movie. If you're just barely breaking even or losing a little bit of money, that's not good at all. So, yeah, I think they're dying. I think they need something soon to fix what they're doing. They need a big overhaul. It's their writers, or whoever's putting the things on screen that they decide to do. That needs to go. That's just terrible. That's just really, really bad. This writing was, I mean, I talked to everyone that I was with at theater, and a lot of people either put this on their worst or one of their worst MCU movies. And it's just not that it's a bad movie compared to other movies, of course, but that outside the MCU. But you expect something more coming from an MCU movie. At least I do. And maybe I'm just, living the glory days of whatever it was, phase 2 and 3. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Have a good day.